All right, so welcome to Infiltrate Radio. Today is May 14th, 2019, and with me in the new studio, I guess you can call it, is Adam Lubitow. Did I say that correct?
Lubitow.
Lubitow, I'm sorry.
Fine.
Local film critic for the city newspaper, and Matt DeTurck, both of you guys are co-founders of Anomaly. And Matt here is a local mover and shaker, doing a little bit of this and that, some graphic design. I mean, you've had your hands in everything in Rochester, really. We seem to run into each other all the time.
It's seriously like at all sorts of different events.
Yeah. So I know I saw you had the Fringe sweatshirt on there too. So I know we've run into each other there and doing things with that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Welcome,
all the
guys.
festivals. Thank you.
Salute.
Salute.
Every show we kind of drink something different. Last week it was what was I with Zamir, and we were drinking his vodka, which he happened to sign a bottle that's over there, but we went through quite a bit of vodka. He's Russian, so he got me nice and tanked. This week we're drinking Ancho. He gave me some samples actually at the competition last week. So you guys are drinking. Which one do you have there, Adam? You have the dry cider, and then you're drinking also the dry. Transcontinental.
It's really good.
Is yours? And then yours is, which one's that? Cidra Blanc. So I guess like a white.
Oh, at some point we're going to have to switch here.
That sounds good.
I made myself something with New Amsterdam gin here and some peach bitters from Fee Brothers. So I don't know, it's sort of like, I guess, an old-fashioned, but like half the glass is
it's Fee Brothers.
Gin.
You're keeping it local. It's good.
Yeah, so I actually want to go visit. Have you guys been over there?
I haven't yet.
I've never been.
No.
I want to take a trip over there because they do tours and stuff.
Yeah. I feel really silly that I haven't been because my former boss is Erica Fee at
really?
Fringe, and it's her
right.
family. Like, her family owns Fee Brothers. So.
I never put those pieces together. You know that?
Yeah. It's one of those things. Like
her parents, or it's been around for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. I in that case, I'm not sure. So I don't believe it's her parents. I believe it's a family.
Distant.
Yeah. I mean, it might be like uncle, but I'm not sure. But either way, yeah, it's within the family. It's local, so you know.
I never put that together until now. Holy shit.
I believe the way I found out was when the Fee Brothers placed an ad in the Fringe program, and I was like, I mean, that's great. I'm all about it, but why are bitters advertising? I see.
Yeah, I feel like that's not a natural assumption to make. Like, of course, these are the same fees.
Yeah, and they're national, right? I mean, they're all over the place. I mean, they've been around for God knows how long.
Oh yeah, like it's an old like well-established brand of bitters.
So they're delicious. I just got, what did I get? I got the Aztec chocolate bitters.
Oh wow.
And the peach bitters, because I was at Love and Cup out in Henrietta.
Yeah.
And the bartender there was like, oh, you got to try this bitter and this bitter, and it was just making me try all this different stuff. So one thing we were talking about right before we started the show was the color of the chair over there, and you guys can kind of see, I guess, if I move back in the video, that yellow chair. So what's the significance of the color that you...
It's that, so I am a graphic designer. My day job is a graphic designer for an esports company. And one of the teams that I designed for is Splice. And the color of the team is a golden yellow color. And so I was just laughing that I was like, this is the exact design of a love seat that we have in the office because we literally used it for content because it was the right color. Like I did a whole branding campaign. Yeah, no, it's great. But I did like a whole branding campaign where we had this Twitch show called Couch Co-op, and literally people would sit on the sofa and play video games, and we'd film it. So
yeah, that's a big thing now too. There's a lot of like video production jobs and video game
absolutely
stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those things that have been there almost exactly a year, and I had no idea how big an industry. I mean, like I knew video games were a huge industry, but I had no idea how big an industry like streaming and the esports industry is just humongous.
I think we're getting too old, all of us. I think that's what the problem is.
Yeah,
you guys are in my age range now too. So
yeah, since you started there, like everything, I've been like, I don't understand this world.
Yeah. I know how to play. Like I can play Street Fighter.
Oh yeah,
I like the occasional. There's some new ones like the MMA game. What is that called? The UFC game. I'll play on Xbox. Things that you could play in 5 minutes and then you're done with it. And you go back to your drink and
And that's the thing. I'm ashamed to my office because I don't play any of the games that we competitively play. Like I myself play on like my Switch. I play like like JRPGs or like weird puzzle games and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
I like that stuff too, like Tetris. And,
oh yeah,
and that
definitely.
But it's funny because you asked where I'd gotten it, right? Which is why we were talking about that. And what's interesting, I got this and the couch and something else, that little ottoman thing, from Amazon. Mm-hmm. And they all shipped in boxes or whatever. And usually when you get a box of furniture, there's like the legs are separate. There's hardware and like a little pain in the ass packet you got to rip open.
Oh yeah, the IKEA style.
And stuff. Yeah. But every single one of these things had underneath it, so underneath these things, and maybe I shouldn't be giving this away because maybe I could actually use this, but underneath each of them it has a zipper, and there's like a hidden compartment under the couch, under the chair there, under that ottoman, that has a zipper that kept all the legs and the hardware in it. So I was like, oh, that's really interesting.
That's amazing.
You could keep cash in there or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've thought about, all right, maybe I could keep something like that I want to keep safe in there. No one would think to like rip open the bottom of the couch,
Yeah, right.
But then I also thought at some point I'm gonna end up like just throwing the chair away because it's gonna break, and then I'm gonna have $10,000 in cash zipped into the bottom. So, but this isn't why I had you guys on the show to talk about.
I mean, we can talk about nice furniture all day. Like it's fine with me.
Really, the reason I kind of brought you guys on because again we've interacted like in numerous places throughout town, and you guys get around pretty much as me, I think, with regards to the events and stuff going on in Rochester.
We try.
And the main reason was, let's see if I can get this on camera without screwing it up. So the Anomaly Film Festival. Yeah. I'll bring that up a little closer. This is something new that you guys are doing?
Yeah,
Is this the first year?
Yeah.
You're doing it? Yeah. So it's November 8th through the 10th at the Cinema Theater.
Yeah.
So how did it start out that you started doing this, and then what is it exactly? I guess probably would be the first thing.
Sure. Yeah, it is a genre film festival, so we'll be screening horror, science fiction, fantasy, action, dark comedy. Those kind of get lumped into genre films, anything that's sort of not just straight up drama or comedy. And I've always been a fan of those types of movies, and a lot of the contemporary independent stuff I noticed wasn't coming to Rochester. And we have a lot of film festivals in town, and even them, like, most of them don't end up showing those. I also program for the Image Out Film Festival. We show a couple, but that's because our head programmer, Michael Gamilla, he's also a fan. But that means that it's only stuff with LGBT content. But anything else kind of skipped over Rochester. I was like, I want to see these in theaters, and so it's something I've been wanting to do for forever, is just kind of making a film festival dedicated to those films.
That's pretty awesome. So you said the Image Out is LGBT only, right?
Yeah.
Films in whatever genre, but this is multi-genre, and it doesn't necessarily have to fit into the
This is literally like in this case. So what we're trying to bring to Rochester with Anomaly are genre films, but we're trying to bring contemporary genre films. So while we of course love classics from our childhood or before, we're trying in this case to kind of find what maybe your new cult favorite movie would be, things maybe you might find if we were still all sitting in our parents' basement at 11 p.m. or midnight, or seeing late night stuff,
smoking a doobie in your parents'
exactly
basement,
we're trying to find the things that
doobie.
we already talked about the age range. It's fine. It's good. We're all on the same page.
I don't even think that's our age range. That's
no, probably not. Actually, yeah. Listen, I left my Woodstock hoodie at home. It's fine.
That's true.
So that's awesome. So the Cinema Theater too, right?
Yes.
So you guys, I mean, these are looking pretty professional here. So
thank you.
It looks like maybe you guys have had some experience with promoting stuff. Is it just you guys that are putting this together? Is it a whole team of people you have?
Yeah, we have a whole
We
team.
have a small team, but yeah, what do we call it? Evil League of Evil.
Yeah,
that we
it's
put
like
together.
more formally you might call it like a board of organizers.
That's too fancy for
it's
us,
too
though.
fancy. We like Evil League of Evil. It's good. So yeah, there's like 9 of us, I think.
Do you guys already have the films, or is this a film festival that's going to be submitted to?
So right now, actually, we're currently screening stuff. So it's a mix of two things. On the one hand, yeah, there's absolutely there's Film Freeway, which is one of the largest sites for film submissions on the net, and we have an account there, and it's on our web. The link is on our website at anomalyfilmfest.com.
Nice.
You're a pro.
Yeah, we are accepting shorts and features from all over the world. So we've had submissions from worldwide so far, which has been awesome. But then also, due to Adam's experience as a film critic, he's also been reaching out to distributors about things that he's interested in, or maybe heard about and like might be interested in. So we're trying to also find like a good mix of the two things that are submitted, things that we want to see, kind of just in the end make like a nice genre gumbo.
Yeah, I've been trying to pay attention to stuff that's been premiering at film festivals like Sundance or South by Southwest.
Yeah.
And kind of the stuff that intrigues me, I've been reaching out to and say, hey, consider Anomaly. And we've gotten a few that, have premiered at both of those.
I mean, would you say that it leans pretty heavily on like the horror sci-fi end of the spectrum, or is it?
So I was gonna say right now, the thing is that so we won't actually have a schedule finalized until September, October. Oh yeah, I'm pounding on the table.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's
That's right. It's like, yep, it's a common problem with me. Yeah, until like we're hoping to announce the schedule like the first week of October. So therefore, we're definitely screening things all throughout the summer and still considering stuff all throughout the summer.
Oh, great. So
Yeah.
if someone was going to submit, how do they actually go about submitting their film to
Yeah.
the festival?
You definitely go to anomalyfilmfest.com.
Okay.
There is a
And then
link
there's a
right
link
there to the Film Freeway account. And then within there that has all the rules. You create a free account there. There's a nominal fee to apply. I think right now we're in the early bird stages. There's like early bird, like regular and late or something.
Yeah.
But like, crap, I should have brought the numbers with me right now. I think a short right now in the early bird process is like $10.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, under 100, then you're.
Oh yeah.
Well under
If it's
100.
if it's going to stay there, I think any filmmaker should expect. Like,
Oh, yeah.
hey,
Yeah. Yeah,
There's
and
a little bit of
even
a
the
fee.
late fee is still under 100, yeah.
all right,
Oh
good.
yeah. But it's been really fun so far to like the look at the whole variety of stuff, and again the whole our whole Evil League all come from different backgrounds, and we're all coming from different industries, but we're all fans of genre film. So it's been really cool in that case to like whenever we screen stuff, everyone like sits down, we talk about it. Like it's been really fun. It's been a good process so far.
So what was I going to say? I was going to talk about the spot that you're actually screening this at.
Oh,
so
yeah,
the
the
cinema
cinema.
theater. So
Yeah.
I mean, we're drinking alcohol, and I was just pouring myself a drink. And I think the main question on everyone's mind when you're going to go out to a film. So, and I'll preface this with a story. So one of my favorite bars when I lived down in Queens was this place in Brooklyn that used to film or show independent films in the bar.
Yeah.
So you get tanked and you watch whatever independent horror film or whatever, like old Nosferatu or whatever,
Oh, that's
like back
awesome,
in the
yeah.
day, and you just get drunk, and by the end of it you're not paying attention to the movie anymore. But what do you think that the cinema, does it have a bar there, or does it not have a bar?
They don't have a bar there, no.
So don't sneak your own alcohol into the film festival, because it will be very frowned upon.
The cats won't
No,
like it.
I'm not going to encourage
The actual
that.
cats.
I don't think have I been to the cinema theater.
It's a great, like it's one screen. It is the oldest
Is
theater
this the
in
one
Rochester.
they renovated recently? No, that's the.
I mean,
They've been doing like minor repair, but they're not like super in-depth renovations. Yeah, it still kind of has that old feel to it.
yeah, it was built in 1914, I believe.
That sounds right.
I think that's right. So check their website. But it's one screen, and they did just They have new owners in the last year and change.
Yeah, just over a year.
Yeah.
That might be what I was thinking about. Like they came in and they I think they reupholstered the seats or whatever. And
Yeah, they don't. They have repaired the seats. I know.
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah, I think that was like the main thing. Because I remember being in there for the Rochester, what is it called? It used to be called the Movie Makers.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember they used to have the 72-hour
raffles,
film
yeah.
festival there.
Yeah.
Have you reached out to those guys too over at?
We haven't spoken to Rafish yet, have we?
No.
Or did you?
I posted in the group.
Oh, you did?
Said that
Oh,
we were
whoops.
accepting, film submissions. So I posted there.
How active is that still? Do you think those guys? I know they've had a few like meetings here and there in town, but I haven't done it in a few years. Like the
Yeah.
72-hour thing. I think they resurrected it
Yeah.
last year.
Last year
Yeah.
they did a horror themed
Yeah,
one,
horror
right?
themed. Yeah, it was right around Halloween.
Huh.
Yeah.
That was always fun.
Yeah, I'd
To
say
be able
it
to,
was
like
great.
have a time constraint on it and
I think that's actually the first time we met. Is
Was it?
because we did it 3 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like at least 1 or 2 of those you also did a film, and I think we overlapped, and I think like we were
my
probably.
first one was so terrible.
Oh, I mean,
So
like
terrible.
I feel like that's
I
just
think
the
even the
nature
last
of the
one I did
beast.
was just terrible, just absolutely awful. But
I mean, there's
it's
only
fun.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, I think there's only so much you can do within 72 hours.
That's
like,
very true.
Like start to finish, and I think that the people who are most successful with it, I think, are the ones who either by accident stumble into something that's very, very like doable in that time range, or the people who don't try to do way too much, which was, I know, always our problem was multiple locations, and we always did a cast of like a dozen people. Like
We were ambitious.
we were very ambitious
and try to
Like,
get everyone on the same page for what's going on.
we had animals in 2 of them. Like, why? Why would, like, in retrospect, like, it's been
Gluttons
years.
for punishment.
Yeah.
So
like,
what got you into like film making in that at that time? Were you guys always kind of doing film stuff or?
I've always just been a film fan in general, so like watching movies was always a part of growing up constantly. The filmmaking side I didn't really do until I met you, I think,
So what?
which
so
was high school actually.
when you were younger, you were into like were your parents into film, or you just really liked going to the movies?
I think my dad was into film, and that's sort of where I picked it up. But he wasn't. I think he was a film fan, but not to the extent that I ended up being. I think I kind of took his interest and then just ran with it
Yeah.
and sort of made it a career watching movies.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting thing too. Like, you ended up being a film critic for the newspaper here. Did you grow up in Rochester, or you?
Yeah, right in
Yeah.
Henrietta, my whole life.
Huh. So how did you get into that? If I may
that-
ask, because that's an interesting career to be in. Like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm a film critic for the newspaper in Rochester. I mean, honestly, so I grew up in Queens. Like, to even think of like, oh, I'm going to be a film critic for, you know, in Queens is not even something that was like.
on your radar.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think, just watching movies and growing up, I think reading the DNC when Jack Garner was, I knew he was a local film critic. And I think I just sort of, in
So
the
you
back
used
of my
to-
mind, realized that was something I could do,
So
maybe.
you used to read his
Yeah.
critiques of the films in the newspaper,
Yeah.
like when you were
I mean, I think
younger. How young were you?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. I'm gonna say from the age of 12, I was probably reading reviews, and I mean, there's also like Roger Ebert is the big
Yep.
the icon, and so I think it was like I was always aware that was something that people did. I don't know at what point I was like that's something I could do, but I was I was aware that it was a thing. But I always had an interest. I always watched movies. I hadn't had an interest of like the behind the scenes of what went into making movies, in addition to just sort of enjoying them.
So how did you actually then get? So it's a big jump from like, okay, I
Yeah.
used to read, or,
Yeah.
everyone watched Roger Ebert and what have you, but
Yeah.
like what made you make the jump from like, okay, I'm doing this? Like, were you already working at City Newspaper like as an intern or something, or you were?
No, I think the
You were just
the
like-
connection was when you started working there. And I mean, I had been done some writing before that. I did some like DVD reviews for a website for a couple of years. And Yeah, since I was an English major, so I was already writing, and the movies were my interest. So I ended up writing about movies, and eventually, an opening came about at City, where they were looking for somebody to sort of take over one of the 2 review spots that they had, and I submitted my stuff, and they liked it, and I've been doing it ever since.
So you actually were submitting some reviews of like DVDs to local newspapers? Is that what you
No,
were
this was
Before
the DVD Fanatic, yes,
Yeah.
which does not exist
like
anymore.
was it a website?
It was a
Yeah, it was a
website,
website
yeah.
that was just weekly DVD reviews, and I sort of got into that, and
It was a good time though, because like they just kept mailing him DVDs, and so
That
we
was
got
cool. I did like
so
that.
much, like so many free movies would just show up, and we'd be like, "Oh, sweet, great!" Like,
yeah, and then just so we're watching all the bonus features on there, and then writing a review of.
And then would you get paid for the reviews, or was it at the time? It was
No, then
the DVD?
that was it was. I mean, I guess my
DVD was
payment
the
was
payment?
exactly. The DVD was what I got out of it, and I got my stuff out there.
And then so how did you find out? So you were working at City Newspaper.
I was, yep.
Matt, and then so you saw there was an opening there, and you submitted. So it was kind of like an application, almost like
Yeah,
here's some
I-
reviews that I've done, and
Yeah, I think the editor at the time, Eric, was just like, I think it was one of the Batman movies, Dark Knight Rises.
One of the
Yeah,
Nolan
he was
Batmans,
like,
yeah.
he was like, give me a review of that, and that was sort of just what he based on the review I submitted. That didn't obviously go into the paper, but it was just sort of for him to read and decide if I had what it takes to for eventually to go in where other people would see it, and if the city was willing to put that out there.
So were you working at the time somewhere else, like doing something?
Oh, I think I was just working at Borders, just as because it was not too long out of college, and so I was working as a bookseller at Borders, and
R.I.P.
R.I.P. I do miss Borders. Yeah,
Man,
and
it is
doing
gone, right? All
It
those
is
all those
Yeah,
totally
bookstores.
gone. Yeah,
That's crazy.
I still have that moment when we're in Henrietta, and I'm like, let's just swing. Oh no, it's gone.
That used to be the hangout spot, the bookstores, like just hanging out at the bookstore.
yeah, even before I worked there, I go there all the time because I was a book nerd, so
The
I spent time.
reason I find it so interesting again is because like a lot of people when they're younger, they see Roger Ebert, or they see the thing that they want to do in radio, or they see an actor, or they see whatever, and they're like, oh, that's never something that I'm going to actually be able to do. But it seems like you somehow like went into your passion.
Yeah, it kind of worked out that way. It wasn't sort of the game plan. It just pieces sort of fell into place. It worked out, and
Like you're not working in a cubicle just handing in TPS reports
yeah,
every
exactly.
day of your life, right?
I will say there is not good money in what
Oh,
I
yeah.
do,
Yeah.
but I do enjoy it. So there's something to say for that.
I think that's what's funny about doing what your passion is that there's almost never, especially in the beginning of your career, and when I say
Yeah.
beginning, I don't know how old you are, and I won't ask either of you on the radio show here, but I'm 38, so I'm almost 40, and I'm just starting to like realize what I love and what I really want to be doing, or not just starting to realize, but enjoying what I'm doing with my life, and there's no money in it. I mean, this is like the beginning of the career, and as you go further and further into that thing that you kind of like find yourself in this, oh yeah, I'm actually happy doing what I'm doing every day, and I'm not getting paid a huge amount of money or whatever. It takes some time to find that, and I think that if you're looking for money, you'll never be happy. If it's just the money thing that is the end goal, I want to be rich and then famous and then be an actor. That's not like the road to happiness. It's like I want to act, and then maybe get famous to further my ability to act better in better films.
Yeah.
Like that's the path,
Fame, I think, is one of those fascinating things. Also, is that I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but
Sure.
So I think fame is fascinating because I feel like, especially in like the YouTube generation and the social media generation that we're in right now, it has become one of those things where very few people are able to monetize their Twitter accounts, let's say, for example, but we measure kind of that amount of fame and how many followers they have or how much interactions they have. And we recently attended the One Take Film Festival at the Little Theater, which is an entirely documentary film festival, for like 4 days, I think. Yeah. And it's an amazing film festival of interesting things because the two co-founders of it, I don't know what to call Linda and Bree. They're the organizers of it, and they're amazing because they have amazing taste and they're just really, really great at putting together interesting things. But they programmed a documentary called Jawline, which was it was following a kid trying to get famous. And he kept saying throughout it, he just wanted to get famous. Thank you. Keep pounding the table. He just wanted to get famous because he wanted to spread positivity through the world, and he wanted people to hear that positivity and make people's lives better. And I was like, that is an incredibly like positive, altruistic goal. But it was so fascinating to me that it was like he saw that path by being famous. Like it wasn't like doing something that in particular like
that was impactful and meaningful. And
yeah, it was just and so it was fascinating to watch because it ended up being one of those situations where like to me, maybe it's because of my age or maybe it's just, one step removed watching it, where I was like, he would just spout things off to people like, and it would mean nothing. It was so empty because he would just keep being like, just be positive without any actual like meat behind it.
Content behind it.
Yeah,
And he was also what, like 16?
Absolutely, 100%, totally, and I'm therefore speaking as if he's an adult and he is
I
not.
just mean, but yeah, because see, that's how he sort of positioned himself. Is like he had this, wisdom to bestow, but he at the same time, he's a 16-year-old kid, and he really doesn't have that. He hasn't lived much.
Yeah, it's funny the older I get too, how much I realize like I really didn't know anything.
Oh,
yeah.
Even like 5 years ago.
Oh, absolutely, definitely.
Even now, I would say.
Yeah, yesterday I hardly knew shit. But it's funny that you say that because that reminds me of something. Someone I was watching an interview with. It was I don't know his name now. I'll post in a link or whatever. But it was a gentleman who wanted to get. And I think fame now is almost a currency. Mm-hmm. So he wanted to make money, and not because money was the ultimate goal, but because money was an access to influence.
Yeah.
So he was like, I really want to learn the game of money and master the game of money so that I could get money and then be in a position of influence so that then I could like push the world to where I want it to be. And the things that he was saying were good things that he wanted to do. But I think if you start there's something that you miss along the way. That struggle, I think, getting to like, okay, I've got to struggle through to find happiness. Like if you find influence before you find how to find happy, I think you get lost somewhere along the way. So
yeah, this is again me just spouting off about the fact because I am not an economist, but like I keep being fascinated by the fact that we're in a world at the moment where things like how much someone recently told us Jeff Bezos makes $22 million a day. Something like that.
Ridiculous like that.
Someone else can fact check
he
that.
made all the money off my furniture.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And listen, with secret compartments now, he's going to make more.
He's
So
going to just start hoarding his cash in our furniture.
But like something like that, like I have to wonder. I understand the idea of like one person would find it overwhelming to try to fix all the world problems and everything. But I feel like if you just picked one issue and tried to just be like, okay, I'm just going to focus on this one, even if you called it a project, like even if that makes it sound incredibly like minuscule, but like, let's just say like water in Flint, or let's say like, we were in LA recently and
When were you there? I was just there.
End of January, so maybe not that recently, but like I'm gonna say recent for me. But
In the scheme of things, it was recent.
I suppose it's a good point compared to the dinosaurs. Like we were there very
Exactly.
recently.
Very recently.
It's very to them it's just. But like I was struck by for Los Angeles, a city that is everyone's always about like it's avocado toast and influencers and everything. Like I was struck by the homelessness and how pervasive it was, and it was one of those things where I was like, again, people who are far smarter than I am and are far more involved in like the actual way that like a city runs, I'm sure would have I know they have a lot of really like interesting good things to say about that. And I was just struck by in that case, why hasn't one of our multiple billionaires been like, you know what? I'm bored on Tuesday. I'm just going to see if I can gather smart people together and give them a crap ton of money and see if I can fix homelessness in LA. And if it'll work in LA, well then by gosh, I bet it would work in Rochester. Or you know what I mean? Like I feel like I don't want to say like playing God with people's lives because I don't mean that at all. But I mean like literally being like, let's throw money at this problem in this one box and let's see if we can fix it. And if not, we'll try other methods. I don't know. I just feel like something like that to me seems, maybe that's naive and it seems very productive. But I just feel like in that case, it would be fixing a problem to see if you could then apply it elsewhere because you have more money than God.
He does. So Bezos especially has quite a bit. So I remember. So I grew up in Queens too, and in New York City. There at least back when I was there was a lot of homeless people there.
Yeah.
And I have kind of like a unique perspective on it because I used to actually love engaging with homeless people.
Yeah.
So I would always go up, especially when I was drinking, I would go up and I would just like hang out with the homeless people and speak with them and talk with them. And there's an enormous amount of, at least from the individuals that I spoke to, homeless people that were glad to be out of the grind of life, like or society or whatever has been constructed. They don't want to be in what everyone else is doing. They're like, I'm glad to be out of this.
Yeah.
And in LA, I was just out there recently, and there's an enormous amount of people that are homeless. Like every bridge has homeless, like just cities of people under there. And I wondered the same thing. Like, is it a matter of choice? Is it maybe some people have some psychological issues that maybe can't be overcome, and so they can't have regular jobs, and they end up out there? Are some of them out of choice actually choosing to do that?
Because there were whole tent cities like on and under bridges and stuff. Like,
and what I've also started to think about recently that I've known all along is that even the homeless people in the United States are living better than I'd say 80% of the people in poverty in some other countries in the world. Right? And so there is struggle, and there is definitely poverty, but I think they still have resources that don't even exist in other parts of the world, too. So maybe when you get to the level of money that Bezos has, he thinks, okay, well, this is going to be a problem that's going to be here all along, because he's forward-thinking. He has a space shuttle and all that garbage that we don't have, right? So maybe I build a space shuttle that can get the human population, because this will always be something. There'll always be the people that are downtrodden, I guess you can call it, or what have you. And there'll always be people that are hyper productive and what have you. So let's build a spaceship and let's get to outer space. And as a human population, we'll progress towards this thing. Or maybe they're contributing like Bill Gates to trying to cure like AIDS in Africa or
and that's the thing,
those
like,
sort of things.
Like all of them completely like valid things. And this is also a case where I 100% realize I have brought up this topic and I am not well read enough to speak eloquently on this topic to the point of like definitive like answers or anything. I think it's one of those things where I guess as a humanitarian, like I wonder why because this spun off of our discussion of money and fame.
Yep.
Is I wonder why in that case, why we can't just have billionaires attempt to just. Why can't billionaires fix our problems? No, in that case, I just feel absolutely, definitely, I think that everyone's entitled to spend their money how they need to spend it or want to spend it. I just think in that case, it'd be interesting to be okay, I'm taking on this pet project and I'm going to just focus on it for 30 days and get it would take longer than 30 days, but get a whole bunch of people together. I don't know. I'm sure that billionaires will say, well, we are doing that. That's absolutely what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're funding these very large companies to do these things. I don't know. It's just something I've been thinking about a lot lately, where I feel like maybe it's due to Rochester's lack of billionaires.
No, there's not a lack here. There was some article recently that said that there was a bunch of I don't know if it was billionaires or millionaires.
I'd say I know we have
that live
millionaires,
here?
but do we have billionaires? I know we have millionaires.
Hold on one second. Is the heat on in here?
Yes, it is.
I'm gonna turn that off. Hold on one second. Just keep talking as if I'm still here.
Okay, great. So let's see. While Patrick has left, we know that there are at least 3 compartments under his furniture.
Let's search them and see what he has actually found time to hide.
Let's see. I found table legs, dead bugs,
All right,
nothing
I'm
to
back.
speak of your client. Oh, I mean, it's all fine. Everything's good
You
here.
didn't find the big wads of cash stowed away, right?
I hadn't gotten there
I
yet.
didn't pick the ottoman.
So, I mean, I think you have a bit of a point too. I mean, there's the pursuit of money, which I think probably these individuals too get stuck in. This is what I'm doing. I'm generating money.
Yeah.
And we're all kind of human, and I think they're human too, and
Absolutely.
that's what they get.
I also realize I'm talking out of my ass. As I said, I'm not well researched in this topic.
So let's ask this: what if you were a billionaire? So what topic or what scenario would you get involved in? You think would it be the homeless problem? Would it be?
I think personally that's something I think I saw in my time as a photojournalist for City is I feel like, again, a million topics about Rochester and what works and what doesn't, and I'm from here, I love it, but I very much, especially photographing it for news, felt like it's such a divided city. It's such a segregated city. And it's not at all from a white savior syndrome that I want to try to improve that situation, nor a gentrification situation. I absolutely just think it's a mix of jobs and opportunity and resources. And I know that there are those things in certain pockets, and I know that there are a ton of resources and a ton of great organizations. That's a situation where I absolutely would like to see our city not be so segregated, and I think that's personally, because I'm a Rochester boy, I think that's where I would focus. I would start with homeless and poverty in the area, and I know that those are big topics. That's not I'm cleaning up South Ave, So,
What about you, Adam? What do you think?
Well, if I'm sticking to your idea that people pick different ones, so I'll go a different direction, and I would say probably in climate change, environment, that's where I would probably focus my energies, just because I feel that affects us all.
yeah.
I read some sort of article today too about climate change, and that how we're in 30 billion years we're at a carbon level now that hasn't been reached since 30 million years ago or whatever. So I think we're in for some real trouble. And so that's what I'm saying. Maybe there are things that maybe we're not thinking about too. I mean, we always think on the local level or what's in our community and what we're doing, and that's very, very important. And I think that's where people need to start too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You need to start at your family or your friends. Life's tough. I told my daughter this today. Actually, life is fucking tough. And the one thing you don't do first is you don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
ever. You don't give up. You're tough. You continue on, and you try your best to make everyone's life that you interact with a little bit better.
Yeah,
Give them a hug,
absolutely.
smile at them. Whatever the thing is that makes life a little bit better for the people that are around you.
Yeah.
And then once you're able to do that, and you feel like you have the ability to do that, then you start making your community a little bit better.
Yeah.
Which now at 38. I feel like I'm at a phase where like I have a business, I'm employing some people. I feel like I'm doing that, and I need to like mentor some younger individuals too. And like, I've been in your position, I know where you're at. Things get better, some things get worse. But overall, life is good, and it's a journey throughout it. And I think that's where people tend to get overwhelmed by these big problems in the world, and need to solve everything. I think starting really with like interacting with people and having conversations with people, which is kind of why I started this podcast, honestly, is because it gives us a focused reason to have these kind of conversations too.
Yeah.
You know, I can go out and I can do it in the bar. I can have it with like individuals, but this is something where eventually everyone can see and somewhat contribute, I guess, to it. And with film, to bring it all the way back, film is one of those things that which is why I got kind of involved in making it too. I feel I can broadcast a message and start a dialogue on something in a very wide-reaching way, utilizing art, which is kind of why I'm a musician too. You know, you get on stage or you make a film or whatever, and it's making, or not, that's a terrible way to put it. It's allowing people to have feelings about whatever is going on stage, and invoking emotion and or thoughts from what you're producing or from what you're performing, and it allows you to have like an emotional connection, which is why people like that's why John Lennon was shot, right? It was because someone had an emotional connection to what he was doing in terms of art, and she felt, or he felt, he, who
He.
Yeah, isn't he?
Yeah,
I thought it was he. Yeah.
felt like he had a relationship with John Lennon because his music and his art that he was producing was so emotionally connecting to where they are in their life, you know?
Yeah.
Which I think is probably why you like film, right?
Yeah,
Like
I was going to say, it makes me think of the, you know, there's a famous quote from Roger Ebert about how, you know, movies are machines that generate empathy. Sort of, you watch movies and you're literally putting yourself in the shoes of the characters you're watching. You're experiencing life through their eyes. And even, you know, watching a movie, you're in a theater full of other people that sort of are feeling the same thing you are, and you're connected that way. So it's just this, you know, it generates empathy. You know, you're put yourself in the shoes of you know, everyone around you, and yet everyone sort of has that connection. And I think that's, you know, one of the great things about them.
Yeah, that's also one of the things. So we have a bunch of friends who don't like horror, and I myself definitely am a horror fan. I don't tend to like seek out torture or extreme blood and guts. Like if they're in it, you know, like it's a thing, but it's not. That's not. It's a thing, but it's not something I'm specifically like. Oh yeah, I want that. Like, but that's one of the things about horror that is so fascinating to me, though, is that like. I feel like it's kind of like how we all have through a mix of like, you know, nature and nurture, have a mix of what musically like we like and what we find funny, but also with that very much what we find scary. And I think that's so interesting when flickering light on a screen causes me to not only get goosebumps, but to want to burrow down into my hoodie, like further into the chair to try to get away from it, which is, it's a flat screen in front of me. It's not even three-dimensional. And I don't know. I think it's so cool. Like, I just think that's so neat. And I was just talking to friends of ours about the television show Hannibal, which hasn't been on the air in several years now, but...
I've heard that 3 times in the last week.
Oh my God, watch
I
it.
don't think I've ever seen it.
It's a great show.
Oh, it's so good. Like I'm so amazed at what they were able to get away with on primetime NBC.
Yeah, network
like,
television. Yeah.
Ugh. But it is gross. Like it is absolutely like grotesque, but at the same time it's also really beautiful. Like, and that makes me sound like a sociopath. I totally understand
that was sort of the intention.
Yeah,
Hannibal is an elegant killer, and so that's how the presentation ends up being, beautiful in and of itself, even though it's horrifying. But there's an art to it.
I just think that's like my sweet spot for horror. Like that's if we think about like the horror films that I particularly love, like things like Perfume, the story of a murderer, like swim right to the top, which is directed by Tom Tykwer, right?
Yes.
Yeah, who did Run Lola Run and Cloud Atlas and a bunch of other stuff. But like, it's about a guy who goes through the streets of Paris, killing young virgin women to distill their essence down into perfume. It's fucking twisted. It's absolutely twisted. But it is such a gorgeous film. Like in terms of it's got deep shadows.
Say the name of that again. What was it?
It's Perfume, the story of a murderer. It's based on a book.
I was gonna say it's based on a novel too.
Yeah. I don't remember the author's name, so yeah.
Nor do I.
But it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's such an interesting examination of like human psyche and art, and kind of like that thing about like where do we draw the line on like art, like in this case, because he's making art, like he's literally making perfume, which causes euphoria in people, but at what cost? Like, so it's amazing. I love it.
Huh. I've never seen that.
I'll loan it to you on
I'm gonna
my
have
really
to.
old DVD. I'm sure it's on streaming somewhere.
I'm gonna have to. That sounds super interesting. It's like the archetype of the male obsession with the feminine. It's like to distill it down to perfume.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
really strange.
Yeah, definitely. It very much is, and it's a young Ben Whishaw playing the lead. Who now that I've said that, now I'm like, okay, what do people know him from? He was in Mary Poppins Returns as Michael Banks. He plays Q.
I was gonna say he's the new Q in the most recent Bond films.
Huh.
He's had a really interesting career, but this is early in his oeuvre. So yeah, it's great. I love it.
So we started talking about film and stuff too.
yeah.
Right. So Adam, or Matt. Sorry.
That's fine. We've been watching. Like, if you have the record of
you've
you
been
pouring,
watching.
it's great.
You guys need refills, by the way? Are you good?
I'm still good.
Yeah, I'm still good.
So, Matt,
Yes. Patrick.
you're doing some graphic design now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, like, what got you into doing what you're doing? I know you're all over the place, and you're kind of like me.
Yeah.
Like you've got your hands in every little thing, which is, I think, why we
Yeah.
connect in a way. Because I've got like the podcast, I do film stuff. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing necessarily, and I don't focus like you said the billionaire should.
Right.
I definitely don't focus. You kind of are in the same boat. But
It's definitely the only
kinda
reason I don't
I
have
kind of like a little bit of variety of what's going on, and I appreciate all of these little things that are happening. So like. What got you into graphic design and doing all that? Is it digital? Is it analog?
In that case, I definitely am a product of my two parents. My mother is an art teacher and is a trained artist who worked in a variety of medium. And my dad formerly was an engineer and did a lot of work with digital circuitry, but also my dad's just always been great at building stuff and like putting things together. And my mom is an artist, and so I definitely feel like for me that like it seems foretold that like graphic design among other things would become something I would be involved in, because I feel like specifically in the past when I've been like a creative director or like a production manager at City, it's not just I'm never good at just doing art for art's sake. You can ask Adam. I'm terrible at doing my own personal projects. I will kick them down the road forever, because I tend to feel like I excel in that sweet spot between just the visual and then also some amount of like organization. A lot of people, especially artists, are very good about like, blank sketchbooks, and like they have all that freedom. There's all that page. Oh my gosh, I absolutely, I if I don't have a lined notebook, then I definitely want I have found finally my perfect notebook. It's a moleskin, of course, but it's a grid. Like, I like having that structure in which to do things. So I very much fit like the two things together. So I need some rigidity.
What do you do with the grid? If you're going to draw something, what do you do with it? Do you start connecting the box first?
It's one of those things where I don't even necessarily like use the grid, and that's where, again, looking at Adam, like that's where like my insanity comes in. I don't even use the grid. I just like having it. Like, I like having that.
You have that tether.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like, it helps me line things up, which is great. But, like, generally, no, I literally scribble all over it. I just like having it there. So it's very odd. Like, but it's definitely, like, it's one of those, not to sound super, like, waxing poetic about a notebook, but, like, it's one of those things where, like, you use some for a while, and you're like, yeah, it's a notebook, it's fine, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, we're literally years in at this point. Like, and I think I opened it, and I used it for a little bit, and then I used it when we went to LA I went to a graphic design workshop, and I was like, this notebook is exactly what I want in a notebook. It's the right size, it's the right shape, like, wow, it's perfect. Like, so I love it. And it just made me be like, okay, great, like this. And then when you start like backing off and thinking about it, you're like, oh yeah, this actually fits like my personality if you think about it. So, and again, the fact that I just scribble all over it, again, without seemingly caring about the grid, also very much fits my personality.
So I've got another question.
Yeah.
Because this is something I've been wondering about for a long time, and all the listeners out there, we're gonna get deep here. No, so I've had discussions with people about naturally happy people. Okay, like born happy and naturally kind of satisfied with the world around them and what they're doing, and the world can just constantly be shitting on them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they end up happy, which I feel like that's you quite a bit, even though you've got your underlying, sadness under there. Overall, in the end, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna choose to be optimistic after it.
Yeah.
This is something that
Is
Adam
this a
and
topic of
I-
debate?
Yeah, no, it's not a debate.
No, I don't think it's a debate.
No.
But I will let you answer for yourself.
It's something that we touch on a fair amount, I would say, and that's, I should say, like, in that case, it's because next week is our 15th anniversary, so we've.
Yeah.
Thank you. So it's where Adam has dealt with my personality and level of insanity for a while. So yeah. I think it's a mix of things. I think that generally, I somehow am generally still fairly optimistic and generally still try to, I don't want to say see the good in people because that just sounds awful, but like, that sounds terrible. But no, I hate to, create like a theme here, but I feel like empathy for people and compassion is something that I was brought up with as a very strong theme from my parents, especially my dad. Like, is always been. He's fairly quiet, but he's very compassionate, like extremely so. Like when my maternal grandparents got ill, it's my dad who takes care of them. Like, not like, of course the rest of my family does too.
Yep.
But my dad is like the primary caretaker, like for them, caregiver. And I think in that case, yeah, it's what makes me interesting to like watch a movie with, I think. Again, bringing it back. But like,
I will also recommend that. It's highly entertaining.
Like, are you
Just sit
are you
next to-
emotionally like on the roller coaster with the movie?
yeah, I very.
And I feel like, Adam, you're very much more reserved on
Yes, I will absolutely. 100%.
that. So at least on the surface.
Oh no, that's
So, but
all the way
underneath,
through. All the way
underneath
through.
there turrents, or you're pretty much.
There's stuff going on beneath the surface, but I would say I'm fairly reserved. But I think what you're good at is projecting a happiness, and even
That's
no
fair,
matter what
yes.
you're feeling,
That's fair.
you're always good about projecting that you're positive and keeping things in a good place. And I think that in and of itself is kind of a skill and I think people respond to.
I think it's a flaw.
I don't
No,
think so.
no, but like I
Do you
agree.
think you
with
wear your heart on your sleeve a little bit?
I do. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also, again, not to bring this through line back
Because
here,
of
but
that statement where you said, "Oh, to my detriment."
right, yeah,
I'm like, I can relate to that a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, like you're good, you're happy, and you'll go along with it. But sometimes it's like, that guy's gonna fuck me over. This girl's gonna fuck me over.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with that. I'm gonna still be, that.
I'm fairly good at rolling with the punches, and I'm fairly good at adapting. I think it's one of those things is that even a situation or like, I don't want like, yeah, even a situation where I'm not like, this is the number one thing I want to do. I'm like, sure, I'll go. But like, I'll find something interesting, or I'll find something to like latch onto that is interesting about it.
And this has always been, do you think, the path of your life? Like, do you think every situation you get into, like, you go in, sometimes it's messed up, sometimes it's not great, but in the end you're like, okay, I can kind of see the...
I definitely don't think I mean, I think it's something that for me, as I've gotten more secure in myself, like we talked about like 5 minutes ago,
Yeah.
like trying to like figure out like, what do I know? Where have I been? Like, I think about the fact that like, professionally, like my first like big boy job was at City Newspaper. And I think about the fact that I'm like, I started there in 2008. So it's been a hot minute, but I have looked back at like some of like design work I did at the time, and at the time I was like, yeah, I definitely know what I'm doing. And I look at it now and I'm like, oh no, I'm like, this is garbage.
I
like,
mean, that's a good thing. It's good to see that growth.
yes. So, but I think that's the thing is I feel like specifically if I itemize from that point forward though and look at myself, look at my life, look at my choices. Like, I think that I think I've only gotten more secure in myself, thankfully, and I've only gotten more secure in my flaws and who I am and my strengths, and I've therefore gotten better at also just kind of rolling with it. Like, I feel like it's a weird like dichotomy, because on the one hand my opinions are far more formed, and I definitely am far more like, nope, I like this, I don't like this, like, and I know that, but also that middle area has just gotten so much more open in terms of like, I'll live, like, I'll survive, like,
You have your limits.
oh, of course,
Yeah.
I mean, everyone does, like,
Yeah, I mean that's necessary. You have to.
I think we described me as like 70% extrovert and like 30% introvert, so it's not all the way extroverted. It's definitely like once we hit that wall, and then once I've gone over slightly too far without any downtime, then I'm a nightmare. So
Yes, I will 100% not beat around the bush. I will agree with that.
I don't know why lately it's made me, one of my good friends made a statement to me the other day that was very impactful. My friend Dave, I'll give a shout out, Dave. We were in a restaurant, and he was like, you got all this shit going on in your life, and anyone else like in your situation would be probably like complaining or be upset or whatever, and he's like, and you're like smiling and laughing, and you're kind of like trying to find the good in the situation. And I just wonder if that is something that is genetic, or it's something that is a learned skill. Because I don't know if it's necessarily a learned skill. Because you kind of said that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it is necessarily. I don't think if people are unhappy, I don't think it's necessarily their fault. Yeah, I think that maybe it's something that is a predisposition to someone's like emotional state to be in the state to like, okay, maybe it's even a protective thing. I know where this is.
Yeah.
I need to get out of this space. This is where the better place is. So I'm gonna find whatever it is. I'd like to bottle that
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
and
that
distill
would be
that
great.
into a perfume.
Yes.
Definitely. Seriously.
Because I see so there's that Beatles song, to bring it back to John Lennon, All the Lonely People. It would be great to deliver that to people. How do you find satisfaction in even the worst of places, you know?
And I think that is a that's a tough nut to crack. But also with that, it's one of those situations where I feel like it almost depends a little bit, in part, because not entirely, on what I want to say, like what your interests are. But I don't mean that in terms of like I like blackjack and house paint. Why are those my examples? What? I don't know.
Wait. What'd you say?
Blackjack and house paint. Those are
Those are the two?
those are the two. That's it, guys. Like that's the secret to my like positive energy. I don't. No, I think insanity is what my
A specific Pantone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, no, but like I think it's one of those things about like it's not just a mix of like curiosity and encouraging curiosity in others, but people are always judgmental. People have always been judgmental. Like I myself am judgmental. Like that happens like 100% because we have opinions. But it's also a situation of I think it's a little bit of that vulnerability and feeling like you can let your guard down and be like, here's an example. We went to the Lilac Festival because everyone in Rochester went to the Lilac Festival this weekend. We went with Adam's sister and her husband and their kids, and we were talking about the plants. And I really like plants, but I have a terrible brown thumb for them. I murder all of them horribly, not by choice. But I think plants are super cool and super interesting. And a friend of ours, hi Kevin, is just amazing at them. But I have not spent more time learning about them, and I definitely feel like I should because I think plants are cool. Like, but I'm very open in that case to like letting everybody else tell me about them. Adam's sister, definitely corrected me on one of the plants. I was so like thrilled when she did because I was like, oh yeah, that was not right at all. Like, I don't know. Like, I think they're cool. Like, I was looking at the fact that the Rochester Art Centers are doing tours of the local parks this summer, actually summer through fall, where they're literally having people from like buildings and grounds go around and give you tours, and they're free, and they're just gonna like tell you about like what plants are like going on in Highland Park. And I'm sure that lots of people like have been like, yes, of course Highland Park is amazing, we know that, but like I've never actually gone through with somebody and had them be like, this is why there's magnolia trees here.
Right.
And did you know magnolia trees are like this? I find that fascinating. I've gone so far off the rails from your initial statement, but I think that I think if I'm bringing it back, I think that it's not just empathy that keeps me going in terms of like seeming positive. It's actually that I'm legitimately curious. Like I'm legitimately interested in things, and I know so little, even about the things that I'm supposed to know a lot about. Like definitely like I'm a huge movie score buff, and I'm in a couple movie score groups on Facebook, and people in there constantly are like, oh, do you know about like this composer who's up and coming? And they're like, oh, they've had like a dozen scores out. I'm like, I've never heard of them. Like, I don't know. It's just stuff like that. Like, I feel like if you can look at the idea that everybody everybody knows something. Like, even if like somebody only knows one thing, like I bet I don't know that thing, and so I bet you can definitely learn something from them.
So I wonder if it's a genuine interest in humanity, like what constitutes a human, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so I bought that thing. That's a lettuce plant that you can eat. It
I
looks
was wondering.
delicious.
I've been looking at it.
I posted an Instagram post about
Oh,
it.
you
but-
did, yes.
So you can like cut like a little piece off of it and then just eat it as like a salad or whatever, and then you just got to turn it around and let it the sun get. Same thing, brown. Like, I will kill anything that comes into my presence.
People tell me basil will grow like weeds, and I'm like, I can't keep it alive.
Yeah.
Like, to save myself.
Doesn't work with me either. So don't feel bad, 'cause I'm in the same boat. But that thing so far, I mean, it was grown like that. I didn't grow that. But I think that it's a genuine interest in the human experience, because we're here so short of amount of time on Earth, right? And we only have so much time to figure out what we're doing here. And if we let, now I'm going to go off on a, I'm going to start preaching. If we let like TV and what the rest of society tells us should make us happy, is what we're never going to be happy. I mean, I think if you continue to go and you're curious and you go out and you find things like fucking a lettuce plant, right? That makes you a little bit happy in life, or records. I found records again after a long time. I think that's what makes life worth living. And I think that especially now, in this stage of my life, like sitting down with someone and like having dinner with them, or just having a drink with them, or watching a movie, or that sort of thing, like those simple little things that make life enjoyable. I think that's where we need to all kind of strive for. I think the fame, the fortune, all this like bullshit that's out there, like you'll get there, and you'll get there. It's a fucking hard road, and you'll fucking get there, right? If you work at it, but you'll get there and you realize, shit, I gave up all of that good stuff and all of the stuff I could have been enjoying the whole way to get to this point that I'm at now. And I think that's a shame. And I think that a lot of our children right now are being raised on like, that's where happiness is. Like, happiness is in this distant place that you got to work and sell your soul to get to.
Yeah.
But you stumbled upon it in some way, shape, or form. I hope you're happy, at least. And let me ask you something. The hat. What's the hat?
I get more questions about this hat. It is literally just a sunset. That's it. It's just.
Can you just show the? It's brilliant.
Yeah, it was a design I liked, and that's kind of it.
Good.
There's no big story behind it. I got it off Threadless.
So let's do this. Let's get back on track. I think we're at about an hour, a little over an hour now. So, Anomaly.
The Rochester Genre Film Festival.
Yeah. Submit.
Well done.
The festival will be going on November 8th through the 10th. What's the website?
AnomalyFilmFest.com.
And on all social media. Yeah.
Even if you don't submit,
Yeah,
go see it.
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Come share the human experience.
Yeah. Don't ask me to speak at this. You'll severely regret it. So, Adam,
Thank you, sir.
Matt,
Patrick.
thank you for being a part of this. And this is Infiltrate Radio, May 14th. I got to look at the piece of paper. May 14th, 2019. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the show, and I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
And we'll see you the next time.
Infiltrate Radio.